Good evening and welcome to the May 15th City Council meeting. I'll now call to order. If you would join me in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Michelle Volk.
Here.
Luke Hellier.
Here.
John Bermel.
Here.
Dan Wolter.
Here.
Billy.
Here. Moving on to item number 3 on the agenda, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for anybody, residents or business owners, to share up to 3 minutes of comments if they're not related to something that's on the later agenda. If you would just want to share your name for the record when you come up.
Hi, my name is Peter Thielen. Live at 12119 Lucerne Trail. I spoke with you before of the City Council here, and I've also talked with the Planning Commission. Tonight I'd like to request the item 6J be removed from the consent agenda due to some new information received.
Okay. We don't have any new information, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I've got a pack of information that I'd like to hand everybody, if I could.
Sure.
It's some information.
Mayor, if we're going to pull this, then the discussion should happen at that time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, so what he's saying is that if you requested to pull it, I'll pull it, and we'll have a discussion at that time on the agenda. So if you just want to sit in the front row, we'll get through this, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
All right?
Do you want me to hand these out now?
Yeah, if you just want to pass it over to the administrator or the clerk, and then we'll kind of just pass from left to right. Other additional citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none, moving on to item number 4, additional agenda information. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, we have a little bit here, and I apologize for the confusion. First, we've added an introduction or a presentation. Item 5A will now be an introduction of our new police reserves. We've added a new consent item, 6V. That's a resolution to support Sweet Harvest Foods Holdings LLC Job Creation Fund application to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. This is somewhat related then to number 7, which is a public hearing. The public hearing was advertised correctly. The title was put wrong on the report. So This public hearing is related to a support of Sweet Harvest Foods Holdings Minnesota LLC and Minnesota Investment Fund. So there are 2 different programs of support from the state. One requires a public hearing, the other does not.
Got it. Okay. Moving on to item number 5, presentations, introductions, starting with the introduction of our police reserves, and I'll turn it over to Police Chief Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We just want to take a few moments tonight to introduce and recognize some of our newest police reserve officers. I'll ask them to kind of make their way up front here on either side of me, and while they're doing that, I just want to take a minute to highlight our program and tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do. So our reserve officers are strictly volunteer, 100% volunteer. They are selected, backgrounded, and go through a training academy, and they provide a variety of functions at the PD. They do everything from reserve service patrols, which is uniformed in marked squad cars out there assisting our sworn personnel, doing such things as traffic control, crowd control on larger scale incidents. They will help in booking, help with transports. They are kind of the Swiss Army knife, so the department asked to move in a lot of different directions. They help out with a lot of our community events by interacting with folks and being just that extra set of eyes and ears, someone people can approach, and also helping out where needed with assisting with crowds in those events as well. So we are going to introduce two different groups here. So our 2021 class never was afforded the opportunity to be here, so we're going to first recognize them. I'm just going to read their name, and as I do that, I'll just have them take a step forward and give a little hand wave or something so people could put a name with a face. So from 2021, we have Gene Wofford. Gene. Connie Pomeranke. Nancy Hamilton. Skip Bolton. William Shea. And then from 2023, these folks just graduated our academy earlier this month, so they are truly brand new and excited to get out there. And we have Sibram Morris, Bill Nelson, Wyatt Ellenson, and David Bailey, Jennifer Klunder, and then not able to be here tonight is Josh Bannock from 2023. And there's also three more from 2021 that can't make it. I'll just list their names here that couldn't make it tonight. Dale Dukes, Kelly Strom, and Eric Schoenbeck. And in total, these folks volunteer about 3,000 hours a year is a pretty typical year for them. So they're a huge asset to the department, the community, as far as providing that service. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce them tonight, and we appreciate them being here and their time.
Very good. Thank you.
I should also highlight our two officers that act as liaisons and kind of oversee the day-to-day function. That's Mariah Kellington, who's here tonight, somewhere in the back, she won't wave, and then Bill Oyas, who couldn't be here tonight, but they put in a lot of work coordinating that program. So.
Good. Well, you guys are walking out before we're done talking, but thank you all. I just want to. They want to get to work. Yeah, you got traffic to control, I tell. So let me just say on behalf of the council, and they can weigh in as well, but I just want to express my gratitude and thanks for your willingness to serve our community. My dad is a police reserve, and it's one of the things that he enjoys doing the most and being involved in the community. So I'm grateful for you guys doing that as well. So thank you so much for stepping up. I don't know if anybody else had other. Joshua, I know I had.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add that as a former reserve, it's the service and pride that I got from that role that inspired me to run for city council. So I know how amazing of an opportunity it is to join this group, and I just thank you in advance for all the hours that you'll put in to serve Lakeville. Appreciate it.
Good looking group. Thank you. All right, now you can go. Okay, moving on to 5B, the MCMA Outstanding Service Award, and I'll turn it over to our City Administrator, Justin Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm going to have Alan come up and lurk behind me a little bit here. It's my honor and privilege tonight to present Alan with the Minnesota City County Management Association's Outstanding Service Award. So the MCMA is a group of city managers, assistants, and other senior management professionals throughout the state of Minnesota. And each year, one of the awards they give is the Outstanding Service Award. This goes to somebody who's shown leadership in their city in a non-CEO role. And I think that perfectly typifies Alan Kennan. As a bit of history, Alan by training is a planner. We try not to hold that against him. But he came to this city as a planner after stints in Oklahoma and Ohio. And then my predecessor, Steve Mielke, had the good foresight to promote Alan to Administrative Services Director. And then since then, he's been appointed as Assistant City Administrator and acted as the Interim City Administrator when there was a gap there. Alan has a keen ability, using his planning background, to look at projects from what I call a non-administrative side of things. He'll look at things from a design standpoint that simply I don't have the training for and I don't look for, and that tends to challenge us and makes projects better, both on the private sector and the public sector side of things. Alan, like many assistants or deputies, oversees the internal operations departments of the city, and that includes IT, liquor operations, city clerk, and communications. And I should note, in all of those, he's had to replace long-standing, sometimes 30-year plus employees and the director or the managers of those positions, and he's been able to hire a great team and build those teams just as well as the predecessors. I like to say that good assistants take projects, great assistants take them without saying anything and just get them done. And that's exactly what Alan does. He takes things that don't fit neatly into any one department, cell tower contracts, RFPs, requests for proposals for professional services, purchasing and selling city land, applications for state bonding projects, and franchise agreements. Those are all things that he takes and he does very well, and we appreciate that. And then lastly, I appreciate that Alan is the sounding board for the organization. Sometimes when you're in the city administrator, city manager role, it's easy not to see everything that's going on. Alan is very quick to bring something to my attention that might need some attention, and I appreciate that. So I'm happy to present this award to Alan. Alan's wife, Deanna, is here. I'm glad she was able to make it. Alan was not able to receive this award at the conference when it was presented. He couldn't make that conference, so I'm glad to be able to do this in public today. So thank you.
Very good.
Well, thank you, Justin. I think you love seeing me up here squirming as nominated for this award. So, but no, thank you very much for the nomination. Thanks MCMA for the award. You know, one of the things that Justin has in the write-up is about team, and that starts with the team that sits up here, and the leadership by Justin, and the leadership of the other directors, as well as the team that I manage. Tana Wold, Tierney Helmers, Trevor Stewart, thank you. I'm getting mixed up with Trevor Hunter from the liquor store, and Ann Orlovsky with the city clerk. So, I mean, all of them is really they're the award, not so much me. They do everything that helps me out. So, it's a team effort. It's a team effort with the directors, as I mentioned as well too. So, thank you very much, and thank you, Justin, and thank you, MCMA.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Then also helping usher through with the team on the fourth liquor store, which was no easy feat considering you had a grumpy council from time to time and a grumpy liquor committee. So thank you for that. Okay, moving on to 5C, the 2023 Arenas Annual Review and Proposed Budget. And I will turn over to our Arenas Manager, Joe Berquist.
Good evening, Council, and Mr.
Welcome.
Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm here for the annual report and our budget submission. First, I'd like to start out by just reminding everybody that Lakeville Arenas, I'm always surprised how many people don't realize this, but we're not actually part of the city per se. We are a joint powers agreement between the city and Lakeville school districts. So we operate much like a business or an enterprise fund in the world of government is known. And we have to pay for our operating expenses with money taken in. It's been a really good partnership, I believe, for the community. I believe very strongly in responsibility, and I don't see any reason why any arena can't support itself in this day and age. So we also have a lot of good financial partners with the arena. The school, obviously, partners, and the city are the two largest. They supported the construction of Haase Arena. They pay for the debt service on that facility. The recent remodeling was done by the Ames Arena, which is done by both the city and the school district, split them. We, as Lakeville Arenas, we contribute as well. We have $140,000 that goes into an annual debt fund for capital improvement fund. And we do other projects. As much as we can cover out of operating expenses, we try to. One of our other large partners is Lakeville Hockey Association, and they've contributed substantially and committed to $1.35 million currently towards the construction of the outdoor rink as well as the parking lot that we did a couple of years ago. And along with them, Heritage Figure Skating has contributed a portion of that as well. So it's truly, Lakeville Arenas is very much a community organization, not only between the city and the school, but also through our users, partners. Quick little bit about 2022. I consider it a breakout year. We implemented a bunch of new welcome centers where we combined all our operations into one, cutting labor, as well as increasing sales in a lot of areas. We expanded our concessions, we expanded our programming and activities throughout the ice arenas. Our sales have expanded, our skate sharpening increased advertising sales, and we've progressed this past year with the outdoor pavilion rink that's taking place at Hossie right now. I mentioned the welcome centers. That's combined all of our customer service, concessions, pro shop, skate sharpening, everything into one location for our customers. So everything customer facing now has one place, and that's been a big driver of our sales that you've probably seen in the report in our in my budget report. Concessions revenue this year, we were up $72,000 from last year. We beat our 2019 all-time high of $26,000, and that's a net. So we did it by expanding our hours that were available. We purchased a lot of new equipment. We've expanded our product lines, and we partnered with Heritage Figure Skating Club to help man it, because that's always been a challenge, is having enough people at the concession stand. So that's been one of our big drivers. Program and event revenue is another area that we're expanding in. Our Learn to Skate program has always done very well. It's the 4th largest in the state right now from a Learn to Skate standpoint. Our public open skating and hockey admissions, we have increased substantially this year. We've expanded our new program, made more things available for the public. Open time, it basically, the idea is if the ice is sitting there empty, we want the public to use it. So we've expanded public use of the facility, not just our customers who are paying the dollars. Ice rentals, we had 5,049 hours rented in '22, compared to 46 the year before in '21, and 4,100 in 2019, which was the previous all-time high. So our ice rentals have gone up substantially, led primarily by our what we call other hours, and that's camps, off-season training. I mean, we're busy 5 months of the year. We don't have anything available, but some other 7 months of the year that I'm focusing on generating the revenue so we can make more improvements and we can upgrade the facilities. Facility revenue, that goes hand in hand with the ice hours. We were up this year $168,000 over last year in rentals alone. Grew by 75% in other rentals, which I spoke about. That's all the off-season ice activities and so forth. So we had a very good year from that standpoint. From a public use standpoint, we have public open hockey. We've expanded greatly, open stick and puck. This is opportunities for people who just want to skate on that available ice. We have an ice club membership that we've now created that they pay a monthly fee and they can come in, and it makes it much more affordable rather than paying for these high-end camps and so forth. They can come in for $30 a month, and they come in before school, after school, whenever we have it available. So, and that's just kind of a quick breakdown on our public use hours in '22. When you combined everything together, Lakeville Youth Hockey bought 1,970 hours last year. Other rentals were at $1,899. High schools bought up about 800, and then everything else you can see there kind of goes around all the different public. Actually, there's a lot of opportunity out there. So that's a breakdown of what we did in '22. Year-end financial results were very good. We exceeded our budget. The programs and events I mentioned earlier were up quite a bit. Concessions revenue is continuing to grow, and pro shop, other revenues, total revenue overall, again, hit a record high of $1.4 million for the year, and we used to be around 1.1 when I started. So we continue to expand and grow, and that's our goal, is to improve the facilities. Expenditures kept pace right there with pretty much as we made more money, we invested more money. So our goal is ultimately it always gets reinvested into whether it's the concession stands or new equipment, you know, better cleaning, all kinds of stuff. But in all, we netted $46,000, which is a little more than we net, closer to break even. But it was a good year for us. So 2023, you will see in your budget packet that was attached to the agenda, we got a lot happening. Construction of the outdoor rink, pavilion rink is happening, which we're all excited about. Renovations inside of Hossie. We're going to brand it in South colors, just like we did the Ames Arena for the North program. We just purchased a new set of dasher boards there for inside, a new camera system. We're implementing the welcome centers there, expanding revenues much like we did at Ames. And we're planning for the new revenue streams in 2024 right now. Highlights. Right now, our estimated budget is adjusted. We're going to need to adjust it from our original, which was done a year ago. We have some significant changes in that budget. The outdoor rink obviously was not considered when the budget took place. So we have had to back away from our planned tournament expansion. We've also got a new expense on our line item now, which is the Apex Energy project. The debt service, we're committing a portion of our debt or towards that debt service to take down the city and the school district's debt obligations on that. And then we have 2003 budgeted expenses. We're going to be making some changes. So what does that mean? We need to amend the 23 budget to match and follow accounting procedures and rules for the year. Overall, 23 is going to, we are on track to exceed budget again. Rentals will be over budget, and very thankful for that because we did have to cut a bunch of revenue out in order to make room for the construction, so we are doing quite well from that standpoint. Expenses are doing it. We will hold the line with them. There's several items that are in there that if we need to cut and we can adjust, we will. We watch the expenses quite closely every month. And overall, our net profit for this year, with the new $64,000 that we're committing towards the debt, it took our net profit down to around that 79, but we have budgeted conservatively on revenue, so we expect that to be a little bit higher. And in 2024, obviously the new pavilion rink opens. Hossie Arena goes to year-round operations. Our new summer pavilion rink will have activities out there. We haven't quite decided exactly what. We've met with parks and talked about pickleball and all sorts of things. So we do plan to use that facility year-round as a city asset. And we are expanding into the tournament business in the off-season next year. We're adding other activities, and we continue to make facility improvements in 24. Our budget is expected to grow quite a bit, primarily with ice and facility rentals. That's our largest. It's 80% of what we do. Total revenue is expected to be at $1.793 million. So it's a huge jump, but ultimately that's because we go year-round operations at Hossie Arena, which we've only budgeted for about 30% of what we anticipated to be, just because it's unknown. Same thing with our tournament business. We don't even have them numbers in here because we have no historical data to go on and so forth. So all said and done, we will be right around that break-even point once again at the 13,000, but I expect that to be quite higher in 2024. We're optimistic about this upcoming year, just like this past year was fabulous, and I get very excited about my numbers. And so I know I also get nervous up here, so as you can tell. Capital expenditure, capital budget, we have the new boards going in at Hossie this year. They are very expensive these days with the new rates. And then at Zamboni planned in 2 years after that. So thank you. If anybody has any questions, I know it's a lot to take in, and it was a big packet that you received before this, so.
Yeah, very good. Any questions? Yep, Joshua?
I just have a question about the outdoor sheet. And in terms of hours and usage, do you expect the outdoor sheet to be used just as much as indoor ice, or how does that differ?
Like Monday through Friday especially, it'll be packed all the way through probably the 10 p.m. hour. Lakeville Youth Hockey is already committed to that. They're even going to probably take up quite a bit because they're eliminating, they drive to Shattuck quite a bit now. This will replace that ice time. So they're anticipating it's going to be pretty busy. The weekend's not as much, but they're excited. They want to use it for tournaments as well, and that atmosphere. So with the roof on it, we're hopefully going to have some windscreens around the north and west side. But we do anticipate quite a bit of use, and then whatever we can't sell, we'll use again for public activities and so forth outside.
And then that space will be available for events starting summer of '24?
Yep. Summer of '24, we'll be able to host whether it's festivals and activities. I have a contact with, when I was with Ramsey County, with a Hispanic concert promoter, and they do these festivals and so forth, and I'm hoping to get them in. They have a little rodeo out there and set up, and it's really fun. And they do a lot of Hispanic concerts. They bring bands, some big bands out of Mexico directly. So I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can't get them down here. We're going to be looking at everything from, we may put the turf in there in the spring since it's covered, since we still have that. And kind of exploring right now what else we can make work out there.
Great, exciting, thank you.
Has there been any conversation with the farmer's market?
Not as of yet.
Okay. Other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on to agenda item number 6, the consent agenda.
Well, Mayor,
Fire department?
Fire Department
Oh.
report.
Chief Meyer, my apologies. I have more than 3 presentations, so sorry. 5D, Fire Department Quarterly Report, Chief Meyer. It's no slight to the department.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm going to present the Lakeville Fire Department first quarter report for 2023, and I'll start with our mission statement. The Lakeville Fire Department is dedicated to serving the community through the protection of lives and property by providing public safety education and a professional emergency response. Looking at first quarter call numbers, so the top one shows total calls in the first quarter at 771 for 23, and you can see 21 and 22 how that increase. We're running about 12% increase from 22 to 23. And the second bar graph just shows a breakdown by month, so January, February, and March. And you can see February and March increased slightly compared to the previous 2 years. And then how they're broken down as far as those calls by stations and duty crew. So obviously duty crew responds to the bulk of those at 484. Stations 1 and 2, just because of our population density, handle the majority of the other calls. And then 3 and 4 are behind that, and then the 00 is an officer-only call. So if we have an alarm or something that only a chief officer or a fire officer responds to versus paging out an entire station. And then we saw an increase in our drone requests in this past year at the first quarter and this year. And a little bit behind the next slide here is just our drone team to kind of give an update on that. So what does we respond to as a drone team? Water rescue, structure fires, search for missing persons are kind of the 3 main ones that we go to. Our team is made up of 10 firefighters on the department. We're all licensed by the FAA for pilots. And the 3 firefighters that are responsible for the program are 2 of them are pilots and 1 is an air traffic controller. And you can kind of see the pictures that we've captured from scenes. Kind of the interesting one on the bottom right is a structure fire that we're at, but those are side-by-side pictures. One is a thermal on the left side, and the other is just a standard picture. So if you look closer, you can see the firefighter in both of those spraying water. What comes in handy with that overhead view, you can see on the left picture, there's a white spot kind of in the center of the picture. That's actually a fire still burning that we're looking at and moving crews into that. And then the top right 2 pictures are a water rescue that we had on Lake Marion before the ice was completely off. That 3 people went out in their boat, had some engine trouble, and got stuck in the ice flows. We use a drone to locate them quickly and then send our team out to get them off the lake safely. And this, I'll take a step back, but those 2 pictures are the drone at, I think it was about 140 feet up in the air, and it never moved from the zoom capability of that camera that's on the drone, so that both pictures are at the same location for the drone. We just zoomed in to get a closer view of the boat. And I'll highlight 2 of the incidents that you see there, the 2 oval pictures, but they're structure fires, and I'll start with the bottom right one. It was a kitchen fire on 161st Street. That's actually a townhome or a twin home, so there's a unit to the right of the picture. They were the homeowners on that side called in smoke or smell of smoke in the house. It was a kitchen fire that actually self-extinguished. Nobody was home, thankfully. and that was about 9:30 on a Monday night. And then the Glenbrook Path fire occurred the next morning at 5:30 in the morning, which is a fully involved garage, and there was grandma with 3 girls at home. Fortunately, we have 2 firefighters that live next door and help them get out of the house and then obviously respond to the fire after that. And just looking at a breakdown of the call types in the first quarter, so obviously medicals, and these do include vehicle accidents as well, so that 537, about 135 of those are vehicle accidents that we respond to out of that. Good intent calls, false alarms, fires, all of our call volume, or those numbers are about standard of what we're seeing from the previous years as far as slightly up, but they're equal across the board. And then looking at response time, so I broke these out for in the first quarter. So the top left one is fire calls that are emergency response, and the bottom right one that you're looking at is EMS only calls, so vehicle accidents or medicals that are emergency lights and sirens calls. So you can see that we're fairly consistent with our duty crews getting there in a faster pace than the stations, and that's just due to us paging out and bringing our firefighters from their home or their work to the station before they get to a scene. So we're averaging about 13 to 14 minutes for a station to respond versus the duty crews a little bit faster at 12 minutes on a fire, or under, they're just over at 9 minutes on an EMS call. Fire inspections, so we had 206 commercial inspections that were completed. These are existing businesses, not new buildings. And then we had 2 new child care, foster care, 5 burn permits that were issued. Food trucks were at 11 and growing. And then LP tanks, or these are temporary heats that are put into buildings, whether they're residential or commercial, that are completed 19. And again, just looking at the pictures, our goal anytime we're out doing inspections is always to educate before we have to go any further with that. Fire prevention visits that we're out in, I won't name all of them, I'll focus on the bottom 2. So we had an uptick in fire safety talk at our senior care facilities. And then also we had a number of businesses that request us to come out and do fire extinguisher training for them. And the bottom left picture you see is actually one of the teachers from Kenwood Trail, I believe it was, reached out to us because her students got missed or skipped over due to COVID and wanted us to come in and teach them. So we set up a special class for their students to get through fire extinguisher training. And then trainings that the firefighters completed in the first quarter were our medical training, so EMR, hazmat materials operations class, and then ladders, small tools. And then our trainings occur every Monday evening and then one Tuesday morning for our daytime responders. We do online training, and then we also have training assignments for them when they're on duty crew shifts. And then in March, all of our rookies completed their Rookie Academy, which is a partnership with Apple Valley and Farmington, and they completed their state testing, certification, and all of that. New device that we added to 4 of our engines. So this is a Lucas device for use for CPR. We purchased 4 devices. 2 of those were funded through the Public Safety Foundation or the liquor store fundraising event. And you just see the pictures there of that device being put on a person in training, and then we put it obviously on a mannequin when we're using it actual to do compressions with.
Is it safer to use that than to do it manually?
Correct, it is, because this provides more consistency. So as time goes, if I'm doing manual CPR, I'm going to tire, so my pace is going to lessen, or I'm not going to go as deep as I need to, where the machine is a constant, the compression depth and everything is on a constant. So when we're on scene, we try to switch over this to as soon as we can. So we've already used one of them at one scene already.
Thank you.
In January, we held our annual awards banquet. Some of you were there, but just so you, Cam Washington was our firefighter of the year, and then Megan Conrad was our rookie of the year, pictured in the bottom right. We had 2 retirements in the first quarter. Randy Bachman, you can see his service date, but he was a firefighter out of Station 2. He was just over 20 years. And then Mike Jones out of Station 3, same amount of time, but he was a firefighter, a driver, and then he also served on the relief board for a number of years too. So we thank Mike and Randy and their families for their service to the fire department and our community. And just to give you an update on the SAFER grant. So the SAFER grant was submitted on March 17th. Again, we will not know the results of that grant until the fall of this year, October, November. I do know that we did make it past the first round, which is a point collection, and we're into the second round, but I don't know the timeline of when they would announce second round into the final phase. And then last slide is this Sunday is Firehouse Bingo, sponsored by Lakeville Public Safety Foundation at Station 1, 2 to 5. And I did see on one of their Facebook posts that we are going to have the mystery machine is going to be there from 1 to 2.
I didn't know what that was.
What's that?
I hadn't heard of that before that post of what the mystery machine is. I've never seen it before.
Scooby-Doo,
Well,
the band.
well, I knew that. I just said, okay. I thought it was something fire related. It's purely for entertainment.
Purely for
Got it.
entertainment, and your
Okay.
kids can get pictures.
I was taking it too seriously, apparently.
And that concludes my first quarter report. Thank you for your dedication and support to the fire department, and I will stand for any questions.
Chief, on the second slide, it said quarter one, 484 duty crew calls.
Yep.
Do we collect the data on, of that 484, how many times were we there before ALF, if ALF was on site and vice versa?
I do have that data, but not in
I
front
know,
of me.
yeah.
Yep.
If we could, if you'd follow up with that, that would be great.
Absolutely, I will.
Okay. Other questions or comments? All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, now, item 6, the consent agenda. Mr. Miller, any items that you would like to highlight?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a few. Item 6J is being pulled for consideration, so the motion to approve the consent will be absent 6J. Item 6K is accepting a donation of $10,300 from the Lakeville Public Safety Foundation. This is being donated to the police department for their community engagement efforts, and we're very appreciative of that donation, as well as a donation under item 6U from Mid-State Reclamation and Trucking. This is $500 to the fire department for medical supplies, and so we appreciate both of those donations.
Very good.
And just a reminder that there's a item 6V that should be included in the consent as well.
Okay. Any other items other folks on the council want to discuss or have pulled for?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to comment on item P, the Ardmore Village Manufactured Home Park Conditional Use Permit. Just wanted to compliment the Planning Commission and staff on that. That was an interesting issue. If you watched it with the residents of that manufactured housing community coming in and as part of this process raising some concerns, and just a really well-handled issue, I thought, by staff and the Planning Commission in finding a solution that's going to be really good for that community. So just wanted to give a shout out there.
Other items? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item J.
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, any further discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will now bring up item J. I know we all got a packet. I don't know if you wanted to, I mean, I can just tee this up. So item J basically was a denial of an EAW request that was submitted, a citizen's request that was submitted to the Environmental Quality Board. And so we have that in our packet in a response, but I'll be happy to have you comment if you want to. Otherwise, I had some thoughts about it as well, so.
Again, my name is Peter Thielen. I guess my concern with the whole thing was traffic and then the water, the dewatering over there. I live a half a mile from there. The dewatering, right now they're 2 to 5 feet below the normal or the normal water table, and by digging these ditches, it's they're going so much more deeper. And right now, and I don't know if it's effect from that or effect from droughts or what it is, but I'm very concerned with my back property over the past 10 years has basically dried up. It's wetland, but it's basically dried up. Again, I don't know if it was all because of that or droughts or what it was, but also when that permit for the dewatering, the ditches being dug there, it was supposed to be monitored. The water table was supposed to be monitored there and was never monitored by the city. And actually on the permit, you'll see in your packet that, there's handwritten notes in there that, where it says that there should be monitored for a year, and it never was. There's never been any monitoring of the water table over there, over the whole time that the Allen family, or I believe it's a family, owned that property. The reclamation wasn't done properly. It should have been, the reclamation in there should have brought that elevation back up like 5 to 8 feet, so that we're not 16 feet below the road level there, bringing all the water tables down that much. It's just, I think Mr. Cran has a very legitimate concern about his property being siphoned out by lowering the water table that much. I guess, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. It's just a big concern of mine with the dewatering there, and digging them ditches deeper, taking that water table down that much. What's it going to do to my well? Is that, you need the groundwater to replenish your aquifers. Again, I mentioned the last time I was up here that, the city of Elko, I know it has nothing to do with us. The city of Elko is putting in that water plant. Millions and millions of gallons of water coming out of that aquifer. Is this dewatering going to affect our aquifer?
Okay.
I guess that's what I've got.
Okay.
Appreciate you listening. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. Just by way of background for everyone, so I was CC'd on this, and you guys have this in front of you, but I was CC'd, and we passed this on to city staff. You can sit down. 10 days ago or so. In your packet, so following that, in your packet, you'll see a memo from WSB responding to about three items that were in this letter, and kind of outline as their engineering, our contract firm responding to that, and there's answers for all those items in there for your review. The other thing that I'll just point to the council is that, based on state statute, the 30-day period for appeal ended on October 19th of last year. So I think that's probably why we have the denial from recommendation from staff, but I'll open it up to any comment from anybody on council, or if the city administrator want to. Yep, Michelle.
Actually, I have a question. So it's procedural because I really don't know how that works. So for people to know that, for the public to respond to the documentation, is it only in the newspaper is how they would be able to find it?
The EQB publishes the EAW when it's initially submitted to the city and sent out for comment before it even comes to the city council for resolution on the need for the EIS. So it's in the EQB monitor. We post it on the city's website. So there are various means whereby people can follow this. We are not required by state law to notify adjoining properties or anybody within X number of feet of the subject property of the EAW. So we did follow the EQB's rules, which are from state statute, on the EAW that was processed last year.
And I picked up that, I understood that from that each of these different agencies were responding. And I understood that, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I realize that the city has done everything that it's supposed to do legally. I realize that. I'm disappointed in the state of Minnesota because, as usual, they always give local governments, and I'm going to just include the school district in this because that's some of my experience, the easiest way out. So it's almost like you have to have an opt-in program in order to be able to figure out if you're supposed to be notified on something. It drives me insane. So my comment is not against the city because you did everything you were supposed to do. I'm upset with the state and how they don't always take into account public citizen comments, and they give the easiest outs to the local government agencies just to keep moving forward. And I don't always know that that's in the best interest of our citizens in this state. Thank you.
Appreciate that frustration. Other comments? Okay. I'll just say, I think, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the council, but I certainly would bet they would agree with me that I think we take, and the city takes our water resources here very seriously. I totally understand where you're coming from. I look at this as we followed the rules, from a city perspective and having the EAW done. I think the developer followed through with the right plan based on what our engineer did. And so, I would just, from my perspective, recommend to follow the staff's denial of the petition. So I'll take a motion, or if there's any other discussion from council. Yeah, I'll give you an opportunity.
That no notifications, stuff like that. Where was I going to go with that? I'm sorry.
That's the story of my brain, so I get it.
I'm sorry. I lost my train.
That's all right. Thank you.
No, and I share your concern too. I would be frustrated about that. I think we always try as a city to be able to keep everybody in the loop, but we have lots of projects, and so we follow the kind of the order of operation. And in the future, if this is something that we want to consider, we can have that conversation. It's just at the moment. Yeah, do you remember? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was done everything that they possibly could. How about the testing of the water level out there when these ditches were when they were being dug? They were supposed to be monitored for the whole year, and never were. Now,
I assume the staff did their job, so Daryl.
Yeah, I'll have Mr. Moore if he wants to respond.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, that's some misinformation from the residents. The groundwater was monitored for 1 year. I have a confirmation email from the assistant city engineer stating that, and it was included in the developer, Ritter Meadows developer's geotechnical report. So the thought from the neighbors that it wasn't monitored for a year was incorrect. It was.
And so if he wanted to get a copy of that, we can work on that so that he can review it.
Absolutely. He could contact our engineering department staff for that.
Okay. Any other further comment or questions? Yep, John.
It seems to me the issue, there's a lot of information that's been coming back and forth, including a very large packet here. It seems that the root of the issue is there's an EAW that was completed properly. I think the frustration I hear is people that feel they had a stake in the results of that just didn't know that the process was occurring and are frustrated that there wasn't the ability to raise some of these objections like during the public comment time. I get that. I understand that. It makes total sense, but it does really boil down to the EAW was done. It was done properly according to statute and rules. That still doesn't solve the issue that people are frustrated. I think that could happen in the future. So I think we need to understand that. But on the other hand, this was done according to what the rules are at the time, and that's where I sit on it. I'm willing to accept the results of that EAW.
Okay. Joshua, you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I mean, I sympathize with the concerns, but I just don't see any new information here today that would change my thoughts on the staff's recommendation today. So it is similar to the conversation we had at our last meeting, and so I just don't see anything here that would change the conversation we had before.
Okay. I have a motion. Yep, John.
I move to approve a resolution denying a citizen petition for an environmental assessment worksheet for the Ritter Meadows development.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Ms. Orlovsky.
Volk,
No.
Hellier,
Aye.
Bermel,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you for coming in today. We are going to now move on to item 7, a public hearing to consider support for Sweet Harvest Foods Holdings LLC, Minnesota Investment Fund application to deed. And I think Tina Goodroad, our Community Economic Development Director, is presenting.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Sweet Harvest Foods Holdings is requesting an application for us, the city, to submit on their behalf to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, or DEED, for the Minnesota Investment Fund, otherwise known as MIF. The MIF assistance is based upon capital investment that the business makes and creation of new full-time jobs that is required over the span of 5 years. So in this opportunity, the funds would be granted to the city of Lakeville, and we would then in turn enter into a loan with Sweet Harvest Foods for a forgivable loan. Sweet Harvest Foods is looking to lease a long-term lease with a recently approved project by Opidin, the KTJ First Edition. That final plat was approved last fall. That project is on the east side of Cedar, just south of County Road 70. They will be constructing the tenant improvements and occupying that full 360,000 square feet. They will be expanding their their manufacturing and their warehouse within that facility, and also consolidating some corporate staff at that facility. So they are retaining 21 full-time jobs. So this is a local Lakeville business expanding, and they'll be creating 20 new full-time jobs. The MIF application requires a public hearing and consideration of the resolution. And then, as was mentioned during the consent agenda, an application for the JCF, for the Job Creation Fund, is also being made on their behalf. But that one does not require the public hearing. And I would stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, I think this is a public hearing, so we'll open it up. I don't know if there's anybody from Sweet Harvest, doesn't look like. Okay, anybody from the public that had a comment? Okay, seeing none, sorry, is there anybody online?
I don't think so.
Okay, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. I'll just say, you know, I think in my first year in council, we did a similar, I don't know if it's with Sweet Harvest, but it has been successful in the fact that they're, well, number one, it's not an impact on our budget, but number two, there's talk of 20 more full-time jobs and an average wage of $91,000 a year is pretty exciting expansion in our area. So I'm supportive of this, and I'll take a motion unless there's any other discussion about the issue. Joshua?
Move to approve the resolution in support of Sweet Harvest Foods Holdings LLC Job Creation Fund application to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Hellier,
Aye.
Bermel,
Aye.
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 Volk.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Tina. Moving on to item number 10, we have our next regular meeting will be here on June 5th. Our next work session is next week, May 22nd, at the water treatment facility at 6:30 p.m. I'll now take a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 related to security procedure discussion.
So moved.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask as a part of the announcements.
Yes, Joshua, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just, I wanted to invite the whole community this Saturday to an event that I've been working with a group of people on. And the cool part about this event is that it's really a collaborative process with a lot of nonprofits working together around the International Day of Peace, which is officially tomorrow. But this group of nonprofits is working together to put a family-friendly event on Saturday at Valley Lake Park from 12 to 4. Lakeville Rotary, ASA International, Just Serve, South Metro Interfaith, Cub Foods, Crop Hunger Walk, Creation Care, Dakota County Recycling, Minnesota Multi-Faith Network, Nonviolent Communication, St. John's Lutheran Church, Friends of the Heritage Library, Lakeville Friends of the Environment, Crossroads Church, are all putting this on together. And I just think it's a really good example of some of the neat things that can come out of working together. And then we'll also have police and fire visits as well on Saturday. So Valley Lake Park, 12 to 4, free, food, fun, family friendly.
Very good, thank you. Sorry, I knew you wanted to talk about that and I forgot.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I will now take a motion to adjourn into closed session.
I move to adjourn to the closed session.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We're now adjourned into closed session, so that means if you are a member of the public and not city staff, thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.